Namaste. We have completed about the nature and significance of principles of management. We discussed about the importance of understanding principles of management. Now we are going to go into the theory base of principles of management. There are so many researchers and scholars who have propounded so many theories. Some bureaucratic theories, some general administration theories, some scientific principles, etc. Now in this topic, we are going to take two theories. One is a classical theory propounded by F.W. Taylor, who is called as the father of scientific management. Then we shall be discussing about the general administration theory propounded by Henry Fayol. Now, first one is the scientific management. Scientific management is otherwise called as a classical theory propounded by F.W. Taylor, Frederick Winslow Taylor, who was a mechanical engineer by profession. He felt that there must be application of principles of science in every activity of a manager. And he suggested that there must be one best way of doing a particular job. So, what did he mean by scientific management? He meant by scientific management that the manager should know exactly what he wants his men and women to do and ensuring that the same is being done by the men and women working under him. So, that is exactly what is called as scientific management. So, knowing exactly what you want men and women to do and seeing that they do it in the best and cheapest possible way is the aim of scientific management. Taylor did not believe in trial and error method. He felt that the contemporary management was very amateurish and he felt that it has to be learned as a discipline. He felt that there will be no need of trade unions if the employees and the employers are able to understand each other. He believed that the management must be very creative and innovative, and with the cooperation of the subordinates, the work can be achieved in the best possible way. So, he suggested certain techniques and certain principles. Now, what are the principles of scientific management? Everywhere the application of principles of science, no rule of thumb. What do you mean by rule of thumb? Earlier days, olden days, the managers used to be the typical managers where they do not allow any deviation at all. Whatever they thought, whatever they have experienced, they feel that the same will be the condition now also, and the subordinates are expected to do only exactly what the superior has experienced. So that way. So that being the case, what happens is subordinates, even if they think that they can do it in a different way, they are not allowed to do that because the manager has experienced it in that way only. So, Taylor suggested that should be replaced by the application of principles of science. Every managerial decision making should be done with the help of application of principles of science so that there will be precision, accuracy in taking a decision, and whoever be the manager, X or Y or Z occupying the same job position, will get the same output only because it has got nothing to do with his personal discretion. Everything is followed by everything is being done with the help of the application of principles of science. Therefore, there will be no deviation at all. That's one thing that Taylor suggested. Number two, Taylor believed in harmony and not discord. So, there must be a perfect understanding between the employer and the employee. There must be harmony in the working environment. Only then the output can be very, very satisfactory. So, the manager should give adequate liberty to the subordinates to think and do the work properly, and the subordinate also should take the instructions of the manager in the right spirit. They cannot think that the management is always against employees. They will always have some issues or the other. Similarly, the management also should not think that employees will always resist for any decision that is implemented by the management. So, there must be perfect understanding between the employer and the employee. That gives way for the next principle, what is called as cooperation, not individualism. Now, we know one famous quote United we stand and divided we fall. So, in any organization, if there is a clear understanding that every individual is an individual in his own way, but only as a group, his productivity will be very good. So, there should be cooperation and not individualism. So, no individual should think that he is an individual with all the potential. He must only think that he is a part of the group which has achieved the success. Only then the organization will be very, very successful. The next principle is development of each and every individual to his or her greatest efficiency and prosperity. No individual should think that this is the limit. If the employee has got the potential, the management should be able to make the best use of the potential that the employee has. And every employee should strive to his best efficiency and prosperity. Only then the productivity of the organization will improve. Automatically his personal goals can also be achieved. So Taylor suggested that each and every individual should be allowed to grow to the fullest satisfaction, to his fullest potential. So Taylor suggested 4 principles. Number 1, science and not rule of thumb. So Taylor suggested application of principles of science replacing the rule of thumb method, wherein the manager's own experience is a determining factor. The second one is, in an organization there must be harmony and not discord. There should be a perfect harmony between the employer and the employee. Each and every employee must understand each other for a peaceful working environment in the organization. Then there must be cooperation and not individualism. So every individual should be assumed to take care of his role in a group as a whole than he being an individual. And no individual can stop up to a particular level. He must contribute to the best of his potential so that prosperity of the organization and prosperity of the individual will be very greatly achieved. Now we are going to see the techniques adopted by F.W. Taylor for achieving these principles of management. So now we are going to continue with the Taylor's principles of scientific management. Having understood about the principles of scientific management suggested by F.W. Taylor, we are now going to go into the techniques of scientific management, again propounded by F.W. Taylor. Please keep one thing in mind, that Taylor did not see any difference between the lowest level and the top level. He felt that everywhere the principles of science should be applied. So he suggested the techniques which will definitely yield only precise results. So the first one is scientific management talks about functional foremanship. Taylor strongly believed that there should be various people who are specialized in different lines of activities who are going to give instructions to the employees. He felt that how much ever capable a manager may be, he may not possess all the skills in him. So he felt that there should be a separation between planning department and production department. He had 2 major designations called planning in charge and production in charge. Under planning in charge, there were 4 specialists, and under production department there were again 4 specialists. Planning specialists consisted of instruction card clerk, route clerk, time and cost clerk, and the disciplinarian. Now, the instruction card clerk is responsible for formulating the instructions to be followed to complete a particular job. Then, the route clerk is responsible for the method in which the work should be completed. Time and cost clerk is responsible for establishing the standard time for the completion of the job and the estimated cost within which the work has to be completed. Disciplinarian is responsible for monitoring the work to be completed by the subordinates. Now, after the planning department complete their job, the work will be passed on to the production department. So, production in charge will be now assigning the job to the 4 specialists who are working under him, who will again formulate the policies and strategies which are going to be advocated to the workers. Now, and in the production department, there are 4 specialists, namely speed boss, gang boss, repair boss, and an inspector. Now, the speed boss will monitor the speed with which the work has to be completed. So, that will coincide with the time and cost clerk's work. So, the speed boss will concentrate on the speed with which the work has to be completed. The next is gang boss. He is responsible for assigning the work to various subordinates. He will give instructions, taking the instructions formulated by the instruction clerk. Then you have a repair boss who is responsible for ensuring that the machines are in proper working condition. An inspector is the one who will oversee the work at the shop floor. So, planning in charge formulates policies, production in charge will execute the policies formulated by the planning department. Ultimately, the worker will be receiving instructions from all the 8 specialists. But please remember, there is no overlapping of authority of every specialist. Each specialist is expert in one particular line and he will concentrate on only his line of activity. So, the worker will receive instructions from each specialist for their line of activity. The worker is able to blend the instructions given by the 8 specialists while completing the particular job, by which Taylor felt that there will be accuracy in completing the job because each and every specialist is special in his own way and all the talents are going to be channelized towards the employees, so the worker will be able to perform the work with much precision. So here Taylor followed what is called as multiplicity of command. Multiplicity of command. So, the subordinate will receive instruction from 8 superiors at the same time. But there is no possibility of chaos or confusion because all the 8 superiors are giving instructions in different angles for the completion of one particular job in one best way. Coming to next one is standardization and simplification of work. Taylor believed in standardization and simplification, whether it is selection of employees, training of employees or the equipments to be used in completing the job, everything should be a standard one only. What do you mean by standard? Standardization is the procedure of setting certain benchmarks. Certain benchmarks upon which the actual performance will be compared. And he felt that the tools and equipments used should also be a standard one so that the result will be always the same. Any number of times it is advocated, it will yield the same result. So, by standardization, the manager is able to make the interchangeability of resources. He is able to reduce the given work to a simple way possible. And there should be minimum errors. There will be minimum errors if standardization is followed. Simplification, on the other hand, is the process of reducing the given work into small, simple, achievable work, by which if every worker will get only a small unit to be completed. So, he is able to complete the work with less difficulty. So, when the worker is given a huge task before him, he always will get tensed about that, or rather he will not be able to complete the job. Instead, if the job is broken into small units, it becomes an achievable task. So, Taylor believed in standardization and simplification. The next one is about the differential piece rate system. Please remember, Taylor is a person who advocated principles of science in every activity of a manager. Therefore, he did not believe anything called minimum wage. Taylor's principles of scientific management does not assure minimum wage. Taylor doesn't advise minimum wage payment at all. There is no guaranteed minimum wage. You work, you earn is the principle. So, Taylor suggested differential piece rate system. He suggested 2 two different types of payments. A higher wage for the employee who is producing higher number of units and a lesser one for the ones who are less efficient. He is able to distinguish between the efficient and less efficient employees. Taylor felt that by giving higher wage to the ones who are very efficient, they are able to be motivated to work better. At the same time, the workers who are showing less productivity will also be motivated to produce more because they will be getting a higher wage payment. By which Taylor wanted to bring in mental revolution. He felt that there should be a transformation in the mindset of the employer and the employee for better productivity. Employer should not think that employee will always resist for any changes, and employee should not think that the management will always impose certain things. By understanding the scientific techniques, the workers will be able to produce the best. So, differential piece rate system focuses on two different types of payment for the efficient and less efficient employees. The next four are together called as scientific work study. They are together called as scientific work study. We discussed already that Taylor believed in advocating one best way of completing the job. So, in scientific work study, he suggested four different techniques: time study, motion study, method study and fatigue study to analyze the work completed by the worker. Now, under method study, Taylor felt that there must be one best method of completing a particular job. So, the manager is supposed to explore different ways of completing the job. All possible alternatives have to be evaluated, and finally one best way of completing the job should be accepted. So, the method should be such that there cannot be any other alternative way. To that extent, it should lead to maximum productivity with minimum cost. The second one is about time study. What do you mean by time study? Now, establishing a standard time to be taken. Standard time to be taken by a worker of average ability. Standard time to be taken by a worker of average ability. Now, this study is done with the help of a stop clock to watch the movements of the employees, to understand, to establish a standard time to be taken by a worker of average ability. See, when a particular target is given, particular task has to be completed, there are different types of employees. One employee may be super fast and he will do it very, very faster, and another set of employees may be there who will take their own time to complete the job. Both ways we cannot say that is a standard time to be completed. The one set is very efficient, very fast. The other set is very, very slow. We cannot conclude that either the slow one is to be the correct time or the fast one to be the correct time. So, by using stop clock, taking the employee of average ability to complete a particular job, standard time for completing a job is established. So, if a worker is very efficient and if he is able to complete the given task in less than the standard time, fine, he can as well proceed to the next level and get more incentive for completing the job faster. The worker who is not able to complete the job within the standard time will know what is the lag and he will try to correct himself. So, that is the purpose of time study, and it is done with the help of stopwatches. The next one is the motion study. When a work is to be completed, there are three types of activities which come in between the worker. Now, there are three types of activities. One is productive activity, one is unproductive, and the third one is incidental. So, when the worker is completing a job, there are three types of activities which he may experience. One is productive motion, the other one is unproductive motion, and the third one is incidental motion. Productive motion is the one which he is using for completing the given target, which is useful, which is going to generate revenue. Unproductive motion is absolutely not warranted at all. It is not in his line of activity at all. Incidental ones which may crop up generally, not expected, not intentional. Now, for example, the production area is far away from the place where the raw materials are kept or where the tools and equipments are kept. The worker has to go from the place of production to the place where the raw material is there or where the tools and equipments are there. By which what happens? His production process is getting disturbed. He has to do the production process, which is a productive activity. He going that extent to the godown or to the warehouse to take the raw material or to take the tools and equipments, that is an unproductive activity. Now on the way, he finds his friend from different department, his colleague from different department. There is a chit-chatting with both of them. Both of them enjoy, relax for some time. They go to the cafeteria. On the way, they see some other friend. They keep talking. They look at the notice board. Some new circular has come. Or they go to the canteen for a coffee. Or they play for some time. What happens ultimately? Productivity is affected. Now they are called as incidental motions, which was not planned at all. Had he not gone to the warehouse to procure the raw material, had he not gone to the storeroom for getting the tools and equipments, he would not have met his friends on the way. So that is why it is said the incidental motions. So while the production process is taking place, three types of activities are possible: productive activities, unproductive activities, and incidental activities. By maximizing the productive activities, eliminating the unproductive activities, and reducing the incidental motions, productivity can be very well achieved. So that is done with the help of a motion camera and using certain flashcards and other things they can identify. So that is what is called as motion study. The next one is fatigue study. This is a study conducted to establish the frequency of rest intervals. The frequency of rest intervals required by a worker to complete a particular job. However capable a worker may be, he will tend to get tired after completing a particular job. So, if it is going to be a long hour of working, naturally his stamina will come down. His productivity will be very much affected. So, a study called fatigue study is conducted wherein a close monitoring of the worker's performance is being evaluated to know the number of rest intervals a worker requires to complete a particular job. Some type of jobs may be continued for long hours also, but with less strain. Whereas there are certain type of work where a lot of stress and lot of strain will be there, the worker cannot do the work continuously. By giving him sufficient rest intervals, the manager will be able to make the worker regain the stamina to continue his productivity. So, how many rest intervals are required, how frequently the rest intervals are required should be closely monitored. That is what is called as fatigue study. So, by fatigue study, the manager is able to establish the frequency of rest intervals required for completing a particular job. By giving sufficient rest intervals, the manager will be helping the subordinate to regain the stamina to bring up the same productivity throughout the day. So, in this we discussed about Taylor's techniques of scientific management. So, Taylor suggested separation of planning and production department. Planning department equipped with 4 specialists who will concentrate on formulation of policies, and production department is equipped with another 4 specialists who will be doing the job of executing the policies formulated by the planning department, and the subordinate will be receiving instructions from 8 superiors at the same time. But all the 8 superiors are unique in their own approach, therefore there will be no overlapping of instructions. The second one is Taylor believed in standardization of performance. He preferred to have a benchmark for every activity by which the actuals can be compared with the standard set. To that extent, he is able to reduce the deviations and interchangeability of resources will be possible. Simplification is a process of reducing the total number of works into small achievable units. When the work is divided in small units, the worker will find it comfortable to complete a particular job. Then Taylor advocated differential piece rate plan, wherein he is suggesting two different types of wage plans, one for the efficient employees and the other one for a less efficient employees. Efficient employees, by producing more than the certain number of units, they are getting a higher wage payment. The less efficient workers will be coming up to the particular level and they will get the wages for whatever they have produced. Taylor did not believe in assured minimum guarantee, but Taylor felt that by introducing the differential piece rate plan, he will be able to motivate the less efficient workers to come up to the level of the efficient workers. Taylor also suggested mental revolution, which talks about transformation of the mindset between the employer and the employee. The next set of techniques are called the scientific work study, which consists of four different types of studies: method study, time study, motion study and fatigue study. Under method study, Taylor felt that many options will be available, but the manager should be able to evaluate the best method. So there can be only one best method of completing the job. Then motion study talks about the various actions or activities which an employee will encounter while performing the job. Some are classified as productive, some are classified as unproductive and some are classified as incidental. By reducing the incidental activities and by eliminating the unproductive activities, the productive motion of the employee can be enhanced. Then time study is a study conducted to establish standard time for completing a particular job by a worker of average ability, so that completion of work can be compared with the actual time that has been set. However capable an employee may be, he tends to become tired after a particular period of time, and the nature of work determines the frequency of rest intervals which an employee requires. So close monitoring of the work to be done to establish the number of rest intervals required for the completion of a particular job. By giving sufficient rest intervals, the employer will be able to help the employee to regain his stamina to continue the same productivity. So these are all the techniques of scientific management suggested by F.W. Taylor. Namaste.